Hi. I wanted to talk a little bit today about what is happening right now with COVID-19 and how our brains are reacting to this crisis situation. So, what happens during a crisis, and actually it happens every day to us, but especially in a crisis situation. I know a lot of people are having high anxiety and this sort of loop of negative thoughts. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why that happens. It's totally natural, so we don't need to try to fight it, right? But I want to just talk about why that happens and how we can sort of get out of the loop and see beyond it to possibilities, right? Okay, so to start off with, if you can remember anything from this talk, is that your brain always wants to protect you. So since you were born, since you were a little child, your brain, your logical critical brain is connected to your primitive part of your brain, where it's always looking for danger. It always wants to protect you and it wants to look for the worst case scenario. Okay, so just remember that, if anything, and that will help you to kind of separate from your thoughts. Okay, it's not that your brain is bad or your thoughts are bad. It's just trying to protect you. Okay. And so what happens is when it perceives a threat, or if it doesn't know, if it's a time of uncertainty, it goes into the fight or flight mode. So we actually do this every day. We're sort of reacting to situations, or we're trying to predict situations, right? So, we wake up and then we think about our day. Oh goodness, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then, it affects our emotions, right? So those thoughts affects our emotions, and it becomes this loop in our mind, and it creates neural pathways in our mind. And so that's why your mind just keeps doing these loops over and over again, thinking about these thoughts, right? And these are very old loops in our brain. Some of them were created before we even had language, in order to protect us, right? So if this happens, then we got to do this. And this is connected to our logical part of our brain, right? Our analytical part of our brain and our primitive part of our brain. So it's always thinking about the future and trying to plan. We have these physical reactions that are happening. Our heartbeat starts to race. It creates these chemicals in our body. And if you've ever tried to make a decision when you're in that fight or flight mode, you can tell it's really hard to make a clear decision, right? For me, my heartbeat starts going. I get cloudy brain. It's hard to make a decision that is good for you and is good for other people, right? So if you have an interaction with like one of your family members, you're going to react, and maybe not in the best way for yourself or for them, right? Because in your mind, is just wanting to protect you. What happens, especially when we have a crisis situation, is that your brain is always making assumptions. So especially right now, it's making assumptions, a lot of that are not true, right? So it's always trying to plan for the future. So it makes these assumptions like, I can't move, I was going to do blank, blank, blank for my business, but I can't move forward right now because nobody has any money. Nobody wants to pay me, right? Or I'm going to get COVID. I'm going to get this disease and die. Or somebody I know is going to get it and die. I'm going to lose my job. And, I just recently lost one of my longest standing clients. I could assume, what's going to happen. I'm not going to have enough money to survive. Your brain starts going to the worst possible scenario, right? And how many times does that actually come true? Right. And so what happens is it's almost like we have blinders on, right? And so there's all of these possibilities outside of what we can see right in front of us, but we can't see them because we're in this loop of fixed perception of assumptions and beliefs of what's going to happen, right? So I can't do this. It sounds a lot like I can't do this because blah, blah, blah. This is going to happen, like these very fixed assumptions, right? And we do this every day in our life, but especially right now, we're really in these like fixed modes. I should do this, I shouldn't do this. And we have a ton more information available to us that we're not seeing because we're in this mode of fight or flight. Your brain is trying to find a formula. That's why we're constantly on our phones trying to figure out, what is the news saying? What is the media? We're addicted to this. We want to see what the worst case scenario is, and we want to try to find what we should be doing. What should we be doing? What does somebody tell me? Somebody tell me what to do. Somebody tell me what to do, right? Instead of listening to our intuition, to what is out here in the possibilities, because we know that our subconscious has access to 95% of the information that we take in, but we can't see it because we're looking for a solution from somebody. So I'm looking to the news to tell me what the worst case is to plan for it. I need to go buy toilet paper. Somebody so-and-so online told me I should do this. So we're looking for somebody to tell us what to do, okay? But your intuition has the answers to what you need to do next to come up with an innovative solution. But you can see it if you're just focused on trying to find the answer that somebody's telling you to do. So how do we get actually out of that fight or flight mode? The most proven way to do this is through meditation. This meditation has been proven to create space in our mind, to provide concentration, calm, and to drop us into those brainwave states, that theta or alpha brainwave states, where we can access more information than just our analytical mind. So meditation is the best way, but also, think about how you get into flow. Like a lot of people, reading gets them into that calm state. I like to do free writing, which is kind of like journaling, but like a stream of consciousness writing, taking a walk outside, anywhere where you're kind of separating yourself from your thoughts a little bit. Yes, we need to listen to the doctors and the scientists who are telling us to stay home and how the disease is spreading. But we don't need to be obsessively looking at our phone at every new case, right? That is just feeding that loop. People are creating and inventing new ways of doing things right now. You know how they say necessity is the mother of invention. The reason why is because necessity, we don't have time to, think about what we should be doing and worst case scenario. And a lot of times our fears, and I keep doing this, our fears and our beliefs and assumptions keep us from doing those things that need to be done or that could be done, right? A new way of doing something. So think about all of those businesses that decided, because they're afraid to lose control over their employees, they assumed that people can't work from home. They can't have, meetings online, right? This is their assumption. Well, now they have to. So they're realizing that was just an assumption. There are ways of doing things, right? So now people are having to think and act differently to save their businesses. If you think about what happened in the last recession, there was all kinds of innovation and all kinds of new industries came out of that because people had to create. People couldn't listen to their stories in their head, that loop in their head that kept just telling them that I can't do this because of this. Oh, this won't work. This works for that other person, but not for me, right? My husband and I have this thing where we, when the other person starts saying something, I can't do this because of blah, blah, blah. We'll stop each other and say, really? Or is just a story that you're telling yourself? And that just kind of snaps each other out of that loop, that storytelling loop of assumptions. So I want to just encourage you today to take a moment and ask yourself, what are those fears and beliefs and assumptions that you have right now? What does your mind keep telling you? And is it true? Is it true that you're going to end up on the street? And do you know that for sure? Is it true that your business is not going to survive? Maybe it's not going to survive as it is, but you have all of this innovation available to you if you can get out of your fear loop and your assumption loop of your fight or flight brain, your logical, analytical brain, and get into flow. And I have a whole series on flow if you want to check that out. There's so many possibilities available to us. I just did a workshop about innovation. And so if you want to go to the link in my bio, you can sign up for my newsletter and you will get that for free, the whole 90-minute class. And I give little exercises and talk about more about the brain and how it works and what you can do to implement flow, to implement innovation, and connect to your intuition. So I hope this was helpful, and stay safe out there, and keep hanging in there. And I'll talk to you next week.